Hello everybody, welcome to lesson 2. We're going to be learning about percents and conversions. All right, let's start with the of rule. So if we want to find a percent of a number, some percent of another number, we're going to divide the percent by 100 and multiply by the amount. So in this case, 22.5% of 80, we divide the percent by 100. So 22.5 divided by 100, and we multiply by our amount, 80. So an easy way to divide something by 100 is to move the decimal place 2 units to the left. So we go 1, 2. So we're left with 0.225 times 80. And if we plug this into our calculator, we get 18. The greater than rule is the same thing as the of rule, but we're going to add 1 inside the parentheses. So if we have 30% greater than 40, we do 1 plus percent over 100 times the amount. So 30 divided by 100, by moving the decimal place 2 to the left, we get 0.3, and 1 plus 0.3 is 1.3 times 40, which is, if you plug into your calculator, 52. The less than rule is the same thing as the greater than rule, but we're going to subtract 1 instead of add 1. So if we have 80% less than 150, that's 1 minus percent over 100 times our amount. So 80 over 100 is 0.2, and 1 minus is 0.8, and 1 minus 0.8 is 0.2 times 150. And if we plug that into our calculator, we get 30. So now what we've been doing so far is we've been doing a percent less than a number, and that still applies with letters like X. So if we have 23% more than X, our quantity X is like our amount over here, and this is 23% more than, so we're going to use the greater than rule. So we have 1 plus percent over 100 times the amount, X. 23 divided by 100 is 0.23, plus 1 is 1.23, X. Let's try some examples. 40% of 200, percent divided by 100 times amount. 0.4 times 200. If you plug that into our calculator, we get 80. 60% less than X. 1 minus percent over 100 times our amount. 60 divided by 100 is 0.6, and 1 minus 0.6 is 0.4. This one, we have 33% greater than Y, 1 plus percent over 100 times our amount. 33 divided by 100 is 0.33, plus 1 is 1.33, Y. 250% of 10. So this is the of rule, so we're going to do percent over 100 times our amount. 250 divided by 100 is 2.5, times 10 is 25. 10% less than X. 1 minus percent over 100 times our amount. That's 1 minus 0.1, which is 0.9X. 11% of Y is percent over 100 times our amount, which is 0.11Y. 200% greater than 5. So we have 1 plus percent over 100 times our amount, 50. 200 divided by 100 is 2, plus 1 is 3, times 50 is 150. 10% of X is 40% less than Y. Solve for X in terms of Y. So let's go through it step by step. 10% of X, 0.1X, because we're using the of rule, so it's just percent divided by 100 times amount, is, which means equal to, 40% less than Y. So 40% less than Y is 1 minus percent over 100 times the amount, which is 1 minus 0.4Y, which is 0.6Y. Now we have to solve for X in terms of Y. So we could just divide both sides by 0.1, which is the same thing as multiplying by 10. And then we get X equals 10 times 0.6 is 6Y. 60% of what number is equal to 75? So although this seems very similar to 60% of 75, it's a completely different question, and you have to be very careful when you're looking at these types of questions. So it's asking 60% of a number is equal to 75, and we have to solve for that number. So 60% of a number is 0.6 times a number. I'm going to label that x, and this is just using the of rule. That's equal to 75. So using our calculator, we could just divide by 0.6 on both sides to get x by itself. Then x equals 75 divided by 0.6, which is 125. X increased by what percent is 2.2x. So now we know that a number increased by a percent, in this case x increased by a percent, I'm going to label that percent p, is x times 1 plus percent over 100. And we know that's equal to 2.2x. So we could divide both sides by x. Then we get 1 plus p over 100 equals 2.2. Then we could subtract 1, so p over 100 equals 1.2. And then multiply by 100, so p equals 120. And we could plug that in back into our equation to check if that's the answer. So if we have x increased by 120%, that's x times 1 plus 120 over 100, which is x times 1 plus 1.2, which is 2.2x, which is what we want. A book cost $35 after a 20% sales tax. What was the original price of the book? Okay, this one is like this question where it's not just a percent, 20% of 35. We have to do something different. So a book costs $35 after a 20% sales tax. That means if we increase the price of the original by 20%, we're going to get the $35. So using our greater than rule, that's going to be 1 plus percent over 100, which is 1.2, times our original price, I'll label that x, is equal to $35. Then using our calculator, we divide by 1.2 on both sides to get the original price, x, to be 29.16, or around that. 2% of the students in a high school said grilled cheese was their favorite food, and 25%, if 2,500 kids attended that high school, how many said their favorite food was grilled cheese? So this is just taking 2% of 2,500, because it's 2% of all the kids, which is 2,500, said that grilled cheese was their favorite food. So using our calculator, we get 50. This question is a little different. It's not just 2% of 200, it's saying 2% of all the kids is 200, because 200 kids said that grilled cheese was their favorite food, and that's 2% of all the kids. So we know that 2%, 0.02, times all the kids, I'll label that x, is equal to 200. Using our calculator, we divide by 0.02, we get 10,000. And we could check that. If we know that 2% of all the 10,000 kids, that should be equal to 200 kids. So if we do 10,000 times 0.02, we should get 200, and we do. Let's move on to conversions. So 1 watt is 15 puffs. How many watts are in 150 puffs? So what you want to do here is you want to create an equation. So we know that 1 watt, we want to create an equation here where we have two fractions. We know 1 watt over some number of watts is equal to 15 puffs over 150 puffs. What you want to do here is you want watts over watts and puffs over puffs. You don't want to have watts over puffs and puffs over watts. That doesn't work. So to solve for x, we can multiply by x. We could cross multiply x and 150. So we have 150 equals 15x. That means x equals 10. It may seem tricky now, but after we do a bunch of examples, it'll get easy. So we want to create our fractions here. 2 cubits are equal to 7 palms. How many palms are in 14 cubits? So we have 2 cubits over 14 cubits is 7 palms over some number of palms. So if we cross multiply, we have 2x equals 14 times 7. So divide by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7, times 7 is 49. In a scale model of the sun, 1 foot is equal to 10 light minutes. If there are 12 inches in a foot and 60 seconds in a minute, how many light seconds are in 36 inches of the scale model? So we already know that 12 inches is equal to 10 light minutes because 1 foot is equal to 10 light minutes. And now we could find how many light minutes are in 36 inches, and then we'll convert that to seconds. So we know that, we'll create our fractions first. We know that 12 inches over 36 inches is equal to 10 light minutes over some number of light minutes. So now, if we cross multiply, we get 12x equals 36 times 10. Divide by 12. 36 divided by 12 is 3 times 10, so x equals 30. Now that's not our answer. We just figured out that 36 inches of the scale model is 30 light minutes. Now we have to convert 30 light minutes into light seconds. So we know that we'll create our fraction first. Actually, we know that 1 light minute over 30 light minutes equals 60 light seconds over x light seconds. So if we cross multiply, we get x equals 60 times 30, which is 1,800. And this is our final answer. 1 foot is 160 royals. How many royals are in x feet? So we want to create an equation here. First, we'll create our fractions. We know that 1 foot over x feet is 160 royals over some number of royals. I'm going to label that a question mark. So we're trying to find how many royals are in x feet. So we're actually going to solve for question mark here. So we have the question mark, if we cross multiply, is equal to 160x royals. And that's it. 160x. 2,500 Earths can fit inside 20 suns. 500 Earths can fit inside how many suns? So we want to set up our fractions. We know that 2,500 Earths over 500 Earths is equal to 20 suns over x suns. So 2,500x equals 20 times 500. And if we divide by 2,500, 500 divided by 2,500 is 1 over 5 times 20 is 4. A few more. A model drawing for a blood cell is 1 inch corresponds to 2 micrometers. How many micrometers corresponds to x inches? So we'll create our fraction. We know that 1 inch over x inches is equal to 2 micrometers over some number of micrometers. We're trying to solve for how many micrometers that is. So we're going to solve for question mark. So question mark equals 2x. 1 mile is approximately 0.6 kilometers. How many miles are in 27 kilometers? So we'll create our fractions. We know 1 mile over some number of miles is 0.6 kilometers over 27 kilometers. So that means 27 equals 0.6x. We divide by 0.6. 27 divided by 0.6 using our calculator gets us 45. 3 seconds corresponds to x ticks of a cesium atom. How many seconds are in 5x ticks of a cesium atom? So let's create our fractions. We know 3 seconds over some number of seconds, we'll label that question mark, is equivalent to x ticks over 5 ticks. So to know 15x equals question mark times x. And if we divide both sides by x, we get question mark equals 15. All right, that's it. Hope you guys learned something.